Welcome back. It's been the last time we talked to you, I mean, the last time all three of us talked to you was longer. But last time, at least Owen and I talked to you, the Sounders had just won League's Cup. Messi was very upset. You know, uh, Suarez was spitting on old men. A lot has changed since then. Um, it is the 29th of September. If you see a bunch of flashing lights, um, they've removed the grass and they've kept the goals. I don't know what this is. No. The Sounders have since League's Cup not won a match. They've drawn against LA, LA Galaxy, and Vancouver last Saturday, 2 days ago. Mike and I were very happy to see each other in the press box. Lost to Miami on the road, and then lost to Austin in disgusting fashion. It's not great. The Sounders sit in the fifth seed in the Western Conference. They're 7 points back of LA for this fourth seed, which is not ideal. And then it gets interesting at the top of the West. San Diego and Vancouver are tied. Minnesota is 2 points behind them, and LAFC is 2 points behind them. And at least if you're the Sounders, Austin FC, who you lost to a few matches ago, is 2 points behind you, and so are the Timbers, who you see this weekend. So it's an interesting time around here. I guess for you, Mike, because I know Owen's been busy lately. There's this football team in Eugene that's doing things. That's all I'll say. What did you like from that Whitecaps match? I mean, it's not ideal to have them celebrate on your own field and overtake you in Cascadia Cups. Um, but you dealt with losing two of your starting caliber defenders in like the first 15 minutes. And you were able to, get a few late goals, get a few goals there. Albert Rusnak comes and takes care of this loose bounding ball, and it's somewhat pandemonium. But you end up with a draw at the end of the day, and that doesn't help you necessarily. What did you see from Vancouver? How did you come out of that match feeling um, about the result?
I felt like Vancouver, this game finally felt like a derby match. In the past, we've seen the Sounders kind of dominate the Whitecaps in every single aspect. We've seen them like come out high and flying, but the Whitecaps this time around, they were the ones that brought it to the Sounders. The Sounders, I feel like every year we never see the Whitecaps really take it to them like this until the past 2 years. It's always like, oh, we had to worry about Timbers, we got to worry about the Timbers. Timbers gonna bring it to Seattle, but this time the Whitecaps brought it to us. And I feel like the Sounders couldn't keep up with it until the second half, and even then, it still wasn't all that great. It was the second half was better, I'll say that, but it still wasn't great.
I'm curious because so for what it's worth, I didn't watch this game. I was busy in state college. But I kind of want to guess. I'm curious how close we'll get to how this game to some questions you might have.
Hmm.
Um, I'm curious whether the Sounders did seriously try to break down this Vancouver defense that's actually pretty strong. I'm assuming in a five back and how many no in a four back and like how many crosses they swung in. I'm curious if you feel like I see Georgie only comes in the 82nd minute, if you feel like that was too long to wait to put on a player like that, and what kind of impact he had uh there. And I'm very curious how Snyder Brunell looked. I think he's a player who's looked really good, but that's an interesting spot to put him there next to Christian Roldan. I'm wondering how he played.
I want to start with Snyder. Kid was good. He had a couple errant passes, a couple times he was pickpocketed, but other than that, he did not look out of place. For being 18 years old, being so composed in the ball, getting out of the dribble, two or three guys on him, he looked comfortable, which it felt like Obed's breakout year
Yeah,
all over
that doesn't
again.
surprise me. This seems like the hallmark of guys that come out of the academy, right? Like, or at least the ones who like you that you can kind of tell that they're gonna not that we're like, oh, Snyder Brunell has made it, but like the guys who come out of this academy that are good um are the ones who come out with composure. I mean, that's not groundbreaking in any way. It's like all the players who play like they're old when they're young are good, but that's something that's a very good thing to hear.
I will say, and Mike will, attest to this. You're talking about Obed. right? And not having him here. And we were on the discussion of, teams interested in him, right? And what the fee would look like. And it was like, what does the solution look like there? And Mike goes, I think we just saw it with Snyder Brunell. So,
Wow.
I mean, but hey, kid put in a shift, you know?
I know he like in theory is like an attacking midfielder. Is he just gonna play deeper now?
I hope so. I feel like we saw him like out on the wing. What was the last game, week game before, and he looked very uncomfortable. Wasn't doing too hot,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
since he
against
slotted
Miami.
into that 6 or 8 spot,
Huh.
it felt like Christian rolled on all over again. We put him in a position where he's going to excel.
Yeah.
He's going to do well.
Interesting. That's good. I didn't really I thought they were gonna try to, sit him behind Albert and then really see if they can push him forward. But that's interesting to hear. I mean, I think that, Josh Tensio is missing is important now, right? Um,
We miss you.
if he's gonna be fantastic, that's a really good spot to start him, especially when you still have the guy. Like you still got JP here, to sit with him and talk to him about that role because it's you know every player struggles when they're changing roles. He's got more defensive responsibility to learn. I'm sure he's going to be great, but that's some growth that we'll expect him to go through.
And I don't know for Charles, we'll ask you for in a second, but when it comes to breaking down the Whitecaps defense, they didn't have a single healthy center back.
Wow.
And in the first half, there was hardly any dynamic runs from anyone besides Paul Rothrock. There was nothing getting like the Ferreira, Rusnak, and Jordan Morris trio. There's nothing going on that side. Charles, did you
Wow.
see anything different or?
No, Mike turned to me and said that about the Paul Rothrock thing, and I've been trying to be more engaged during some of these because sometimes, especially when when there's no dynamic runs, I'm like, all right, what the fuck are we doing? So I've been doing these like halftime observations, and literally I was like, hey, I want to see some changes here, I think one of the big things, again, we're referencing the Mike halftime and full-time thoughts. Uh, just wasn't necessarily working out with Jordan. I know he's coming back from it, but hey, there's this Danny Musovski guy who scored a good amount of goals. I know Jordan's seen it. I know he has. And I'm not disputing what he brings, but it would be I feel like with Danny Musovski for a few reasons, I would have liked to have him in there. Um, but yeah, no, I just the attack for so long outside of what the 2 minute stretch where they get the Reagan header off of what I believe that was a corner. Um, Crazy set piece goal. Nice. And then the loose bounding ball that Albert comes in and smashes nearly through the net. Like that's it, largely. You know, I and I am. We'll get to those thoughts. I think maybe look at a few other things before that, but I wonder how it makes you feel going into Portland, right? Well, I don't know. Maybe you want to go straight to that outside because I don't know if you've seen any sort of trends that continued, maybe Mike specifically, but if Owen, if you'd noticed anything, and I don't know how many of the matches you've seen since the League's Cup final, in these last 4 games, because you've given up two or more goals in each contest. You know, um, you scored two against Vancouver and the Galaxy, sure, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like, I guess my question would be is where are the vibes at, so to say, with this Sounders team now? Because yes, you've got a clinched playoff spot, but that comes thanks to results around the league. I know Mike and I were looking over this uh, before the match, but yeah, a point would have done it. So I guess they could have done it themselves, but they got in like I think at halftime they knew. Um, but it seems difficult to climb to the fourth seed unless LAFC decides to take a nap. And with Son and Denis Bouanga playing how they are, I don't think that's going to happen. Yeah, I don't know where are your feelings at with the Sounders at this current point in time. Um, just all things considered, especially again, we don't know. Today would be the day if they know if they have MRIs, and I'll do this checking in the background, but we don't know how long Yamar or Alex are going to be out.
Owen, what do you think?
I think I'm curious because when you started talking about Son and Boanga, I go back to the idea that this team functions very well when it's playing like a team. That's when they succeed in Leagues Cup. None of those goals really. I mean, you can argue the Georgie one is a strong individual effort, but most of the goals they score throughout the entire tournament are team goals. They're long passing sequences where defenders are getting pulled by runs that don't get paid off with the ball, but they're dragging guys deep and making space for another guy to run and so the last game I fully watched, I fully sat down and watched was Miami. And I didn't really see any of that, which concerns me. You look at these games and you're saying, hey, the strength of this team is its ability to play together. And it doesn't look like that. Not that the chemistry is gone, but like the ability to string those long moves together that tire out the other team. And pull out, especially because you're going to go to Portland. You've played lots of teams. You've played Minnesota twice, and you've had to figure out how to pull teams out of their shell. Um, and I'm not seeing that as much like as successful as it was in Leagues Cup. Maybe that's because some of these Mexican teams that the Sounders did so well against are more aggressive, and they will come try to get the ball from you. And Sounders and MLS teams are happier to sit back and let you come to them. That's why the Sounders end up crossing so much. Yeah, it worries me a little bit because it was riding so high, and the reason we were so confident after Leagues Cup is because it wasn't like, oh, Son and Bouanga are playing really well. If one of them is out or out of form or not able to play, um, this team is not the same. It was like they work together really well. This is a system thing, and the system isn't working right now.
I agree 100%. And I mean, the drop off from that Leagues Cup final, from hell, even from before the Club World Cup to after, and then now after Leagues Cup, I feel like we're seeing three completely different teams and experiencing three different seasons all in one. And I just fear if the Whitecaps should have been a get right game. I feel like especially with their broken down defense. And I feel like now we're hoping that we get another one of those against the Timbers. I don't see that happening. The
No,
vibes
I
are
expect that
low.
to be a
Yeah,
rivalry game. Yeah.
yeah. It should be another fun game. Like that's why I really enjoyed this Whitecaps game because it felt like a rivalry game again. And to have that 2 weekends in a row is gonna be fun. But I think I'd rather see the results on the pitch as opposed to just having fun. Especially right
Yeah,
now with only one win in six. Like
yeah.
I
It's a
like the idea of these
results-driven
rivalries. Sorry, go
business.
go.
Oh no, I'm just saying it's a
No,
results-driven
yeah.
business, right?
And I like the idea of these rivalry games because there's so many players here who get fired up. Like Paul Rothrock gets fired up by these games. And that's where this team draws strength from. Like I remember one of the moments I remember most in the Leagues Cup final is Georgie goes down and draws the penalty and he's down for a second. And then he gets up and he's like almost like in the ECS, like he almost is gonna hop the board or something and like really like fired up and like the Sounders there are like not struggling, but they're like, hey, we cannot let Miami get a second goal. Let's be careful. And it seemed like that was a moment where he really is able to like fire up the crowd and the team and you know when there's a lack of an ability to do that, you put them in an environment where it's gonna be that. Like we say we're surprised about the Vancouver like being so fiery. The Timbers games are always fiery, especially when you have so many guys on this team that are experienced that know what it's like to play in that game. Like these aren't guys who it's like, oh, we brought in a new squad of guys who didn't come through the academy, who don't understand what this rivalry means. Like these are guys who like grew up hating the Timbers. Like Jackson Reagan and Paul Rothrock were like from Seattle. Like I'm sure they saw the Sounders play the Timbers so many times and they understand that this means something. That's the hope I have because you're not seeing that fire.
And to that point, with Portland, it's unfortunate. You know, you haven't won against them since May of last year. It's a bunch of draws, and they've been tight. They've largely been tight, right? But Seattle's been on out since the last time there's been a multi-goal win in this rivalry, right? The last time the Sounders had it was August 15th, 21, the 6-2 match, right? the last two times that there's been a multi-goal win, it's been the Timbers who have had 3 goal wins over you, 4-1 in 2023 early in April, and then 3-0 July 9th of 22. Not saying anything, but I'm saying, you know, you should get up. It's a great point. Yeah. Like there are guys that get up for this and to kind of build off of what you both have mentioned, it's here's hoping that these two back-to-back weeks of playing your regional rivals can, maybe slap you in the face, punch you in the mouth a little bit, be like, hey, yes, you like, I'm not discounting Leagues Cup. I understand that. It's a trophy, it's a difficult trophy to win, but there's still so much more ahead of you in terms of MLS Cup. Like, I know I'm the optimist in a lot of our shows. I think they can get there. I certainly think they can get there. I'm not saying anything about hoisting another trophy, but I think they can get there, given uh, they didn't look totally outclassed by the top teams in the West. They've beaten San Diego. They've come frustratingly close to what Minnesota. They've beaten LA. You get what I'm saying, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
they're
Yeah.
not a class below the teams in the West. Um, and I think, you got to get things moving. Um, and I don't know if I'd put it in like certifiable must-win category, but I think it's pretty fucking close in terms of Portland, right? Like not only for the rivalry itself, because again, you haven't won a match since 20, I get it since 24, but shouldn't get to that point. Don't like
Yeah.
saying it.
So one win since 2021 is wild
But
against
yeah,
the Timbers.
Yeah, I mean,
um,
man, you talk about the vibes. What are the vibes if the Sounders lose this game, especially without multiple
ooh,
goals at home? Where does that leave? Because, vibes are important. This team, has been so successful late in seasons, going on runs where just keep stacking wins and stacking good performances and feel good about your ability. If this game, doesn't boost that, like where does that leave the Sounders? And just in terms of confidence and this team is obviously one that has confidence in its ability to go win trophies, but like in the moment that, that's concerning.
it's pretty remarkable. Like, I think now I do have to say it's a must win because you talk about vibes, right? Like, go to momentum. Um, you've got 3 matches left in the year. Against Portland, RSL's not a pushover, and then you go on the road to play on a baseball stadium. Uh,
Against one of the best
like,
teams in the league, mind you.
yeah.
Like NYCFC is
So,
good this year.
um, so you'll have to deal with that, and in all likelihood, unfortunately, you are probably starting you're not a home team for the playoffs, right? So, uh, I like just you have to hope, at least in my mind, I could be wrong. I'm not a genius. I'm bald. The turnaround like should start here against Portland. You're and I was gonna say you're getting healthier, but you're not. Like you got Jordan back, that's great. But I'm very anxious to see what happens with Alex and Yamar, particularly Yamar. I almost said Neymar. Nope. With Yamar because I feel like he's the most important part of your back line. Um, I'm gonna stay with the defensive side unless any of you want to add anything else to what we were just talking
Go ahead.
about.
Go ahead.
Um, we've had this conversation before. The goalkeeper, the goalie. Um, what have you seen from Stefan Fry lately? I know we love Steph. I know he started this match. I know this Vancouver match. I know it's rivalry. Um, Undeniably, in any sport with a goalie, like the one I'm at today, there will be attention paid to the goalie, right? There will be mistakes pinned on the goalie, whether that's fair, whether it's not. Um, I I thought about this, right? Because it feels like it's becoming more of a topic of discussion now. I believe what I said when we talked about goalkeeper controversy first was that Andrew Thomas has played his way into being your number one. there's all the respect, love, and admiration for Stephen Fry in the world. As a kid who grew up watching legendary number 24s in this city, I've seen it, but feel like it's Andrew Thomas. I still feel that way. That's why I feel like there isn't the controversy. Any thoughts on that? And maybe I don't know if you would pin anything on him from Saturday, Mike, but just any thoughts on the goalkeeper situation and Stefan Fry of late?
I think you ride with Fry until he starts slipping up even more. I mean, we've seen him in this rough run that the Sounders are on. He is kind of slow to react on some balls that he would normally come out and grab. He is parrying instead of grabbing the ball like he normally would before. In the Vancouver game, he made some incredible saves, but even then, we're still seeing him react late when there's like an oncoming ball or like a ball coming in. There was a time that I remember in the in the first half, Vancouver is attacking towards ECS. There's a ball that came in, and the way it was deflecting, we've seen Fry go and dive for the ball. He's been hesitant to make those kind of decisions as of late. Since I mean, understandably, because he had that concussion he got after getting hit, but like I just feel like his confidence isn't there like it used to be. And I think you give Fry the chance until, like I said, until he's not doing it, and then Thomas should be ready to go right away. I would honestly play Thomas in the playoffs once playoffs start, and then maybe just let Fry ride this out and have the tough conversation with him.
Okay. Like we're talking about vibes. You got to be very careful with the vibes right now because there's a lot of players here who love Steph and believe in Steph. And like that is, I think that's their number one thing is you don't want to shake it up. They're like that, not inside knowledge, but just like you got to be very careful, especially at this point in the season. And I the thing that's changed, I think, is it's not an experience thing anymore. Andrew Thomas has the experience where I can say he is going to perform in a big game. He's going to stand up and make the saves. He can hold his nerve in a penalty shootout. He can command his back line. That was questions we were looking to have answered before the season, and when we were having this conversation earlier, and he's answered them. He's got them. So the only question left is like, can you make this change? Um, right now, because I think if you're gonna make the change, it has to be right now. It can't be in the playoffs, because changing your team like that, right before not a knockout game because it's best of three, but a game that you need to win. Certainly, especially because the Sounders look like they're gonna be on the road. Um, you got to make that decision now, and based on everything they've said, I don't think they want to rock that boat.
And also, he's club captain, so like that makes it even harder, I guess. Yeah.
And for what it's worth, like they have each other's backs, but these guys are athletes, they're competitors, and they want to
Yeah.
play. Both of them, want the starting job, obviously. Um, yeah, I think it's
I,
tough. I think they will ride with Fry.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I agree on the playoffs perspective with Thomas, but I'm like, hey, again, it goes back to how you finish, right? You don't want to come limping into the postseason, and if I'm not saying he is going to collapse, but if you've got Steph and he's letting leakers in, and again, you do have the game in hand um, over Portland in terms of them being right on your tail for that fifth spot, but just given you've got Austin 2 points behind you, you've got Portland 2 points behind you, and then there's a drop off. Uh, it is tough. It's a difficult situation because this is a situation where you're trying to respect a legend, you know. Um, I don't know. I might be in the Andrew Thomas boat. As tough as it is to say.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm not saying I'm in the Fry boat. I'm saying I believe that I think they're going to go with Fry. I think Thomas
yeah.
at this point, especially because you're looking at the long term option, like he's the
hmm
guy. He will be taking over sooner rather than later. Um, but I don't
Vibes
think
and like
that's this
sentiments
season.
aside, who do you think will Who do you think can lead us on
I
an
think
MLS
Andrew
Cup run?
Thomas is the starting goalkeeper next year. That's where I'll go.
And if you're making a run, I think it's Thomas. I mean, you saw the balls on the guy in Leagues Cup in the knockout, I mean, at, like I know Steph has some of the most historic, big moments in club history, right? I mean, we all know it's safe, you know. We've seen him bail this team out at times. But I do think he's never been an ego guy, right? I mean, it's part of why he's a captain, right? I think he would understand stuff like that. And I do think, in talking with Jade Evans a few months ago, I think he's understanding where he's at in his career and maybe even further accelerated by the injury. At the end of the day, it's your health you're messing with. And I'm not saying he's going to get hit in the head again, but the potential is unfortunately naturally there, right? Um, So that's to say, but yeah, I don't know. Long term, it is Andy, but I do think that Steph is going to do everything he can to make sure he's ready, for that. So, um,
Do you think Andrew Thomas is the starting goalkeeper next year? Week one?
100%.
100%.
I would be shocked if not.
Yeah.
Um, I I gotta find it again, but I do think he is signed for at least a few more
He
years.
signed his deal. I think it's 2027 with a team option 2028.
Yes.
Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I always
I'm
remembered
not
bringing that
confident
up.
in that, but you want to check that. I know he has an option on it.
Yeah,
I think
I
it's
know they
team.
released it the other day where they've got the like
Oh yeah.
you know what I mean, the
Yeah, yeah.
different options and but I just remember I was in Minnesota last year when it happened. I remember having to sit at the hotel room and put something out about it. Oh, this is just Gam. Damn it.
No, but confirm Andrew Thomas. Oh, and you're right. 2027 option 2028.
Yes, thank you. So, I mean, they already
Thanks.
have kind of stamped it, but they've managed having, two very suitable starting options. There are a lot of teams I feel like that would want this goalkeeper room and probably the goalkeeper coach in that regard as well. So, um,
Mike, is it a team option or a player
Yes.
option? Okay.
Team option.
okay.
Which they will
So they,
exercise.
Oh,
yeah, I mean,
1000%.
if he keeps going like this, I mean, Jesus Christ.
Maybe
Um,
just give him a deal. But
DP clause right
yeah.
there.
Well, Jesus. Um, yeah, man. I mean, we've talked about Portland. We've talked about the last set of matches. We talked about the goalkeepers. Um, I don't know.
I've got some
With
thoughts
that,
on the postseason here. If you
okay,
want to talk,
for
because
sure.
just talking about the fact that the Sounders are going to have to go on the road, you assume, right?
Oh,
So
I mean, I'd be shocked. And
More than likely,
the
yeah.
so
thing is,
yeah,
LAFC has a game in hand on you. So,
yeah, and so where I'm going with this is the Sounders start on the road, and that's the most important game you have to win here. You have to go win on the road, and the Sounders team has been good on the road in the past, but this year the Sounders at home, 8-6-1 with a plus 16 goal differential, through 15 games. And then and that puts them, for what it's worth, second in the West. Away from home, they are 4-4-8 with a minus 9 goal differential through 16 games, and that puts them 10th in the West. If you have to play a game where you have to go on the road and win a first game, because if the Sounders lose the first game, come here to Seattle, and have to win 2 games straight, I think that's a really difficult spot, especially when you're going on the road for that second game. They could do it, but they you got to win that first game, and they're not a good team on the road. Um, it's tough. I worry about that just because, and this is why that home matters so much. Not only because like, oh, you get to play 2 home games, whatever. Like it's the first game being at their place, at LAFC, at Vancouver or Minnesota. Not a good team on the road, and that worries me.
If we got either of those two in the first round, I would be extremely concerned with the rest of the potential playoff run if
And
it came
and
down to
especially
it.
especially because a lot of these teams in the top four are teams that the Sounders, like yes, they win, but they don't feel like wins that you really replicate. I mean, they haven't been
Mhm.
successful really against Vancouver and Minnesota, but it's like these games against San Diego, you're like, oh, we got a goal, cool. I don't know if that's like if this is proof of concept for a win. Like we understand how to play these guys now. Those games, especially even with they're not winning. It's like it feels like they haven't solved a lot of these puzzles yet. They haven't solved how to play Minnesota, or Vancouver, or San Diego, or these teams that are going to be so great. LAFC is a really tough team to play, especially down there. Um, that's what worries me. These are teams the Sounders haven't solved, and they have to solve it on the road where they're not good.
and do it all without their best
Actually,
defender.
Yes. Uh,
oh,
Potentially,
don't like
potentially.
that. Don't like that. What with Owen bringing up the splits, it's interesting because both of the soccer teams that call Lumen Field home have talked so much in recent years about making Lumen a fortress again, and I think they've kind of gotten started to get back to that. But at least in the Sounder side of things, at what cost? I'm not saying it directly affects your away team, but like, yeah, I mean it's an interesting point to mention. You can rely on being home all you want, but how do you get on the road and negate an opposing team's home field advantage? Which brings me, I think, to my last question to wrap up this show. If things don't go well, if they struggle on the road in the postseason, or they limp into the playoffs and they just don't look great, how do you view 2025? Because yes, you won League's Cup, you know, um, you had the impressive showing in Club World Cup. You dealt with all of these different competitions. I hopefully finish top five in the Western Conference against some decently good teams. I don't know. How do you? Because I mean, you got your first trophy in 3 years, right? How would you view 2025 if there's no MLS Cup here?
I would still consider it a success. Because honestly, like before the Club World Cup, I didn't expect the Sounders team to be trophy bound at all, to be honest, just based on the play. But like we had, like you said, we had a fantastic show in the Club World Cup. We put ourselves on the world map. Team of outlets from across the world are talking about the Sounders and how they played so well against PSG, against Atleti, against Botafogo. And then we had that insane run right before Leagues Cup, and we end up with the trophy. Like this is the first time in quite a few years where we've seen the Sounders play together as a team, and the whole collective was all in agreement to go for this, like to go for these trophies. So yes, we're in a rough run right now. We could see that run continue, but I think we should still consider this season a success.
okay. I think if the Sounders go out before, I don't know. I want to say MLS Cup, but we'll say Western Conference Final. If they go out before the Western Conference Final, I would consider this season a missed opportunity. I think this is the deepest Sounders team that we've seen. Probably, gosh, like at least since 2019. Maybe 2022 when they won the Club World Cup. But one of the deepest Sounders teams in its MLS era. This is a team that did not have to get hot at the right time to make the playoffs. It's and that's a testament to how good the start of the season was. Even when you're missing Jordan Morris, even when you're missing Albert Rusnak, this team is good because of the depth. And we looked at that and we said, hey, because of that, we feel like this team has the ability to really succeed down the stretch after being successful. That's already a missed opportunity, because there are so many good depth pieces on this team. And after Leagues Cup, they couldn't find a way to work together, and really push this team into the playoffs, because that's the second part of this. This team is great not only when it surges at the right time, but when it builds the base to do it. And Leagues Cup is fantastic, and I'm not saying it's a failed season, but because of all the things you said, Mike, because this team was so successful right there in the middle, because you discovered so much of this depth in season. You discovered Azase, you discovered Snyder Brunell, and Andrew Thomas is a full-fledged MLS starter now. Kalani Kosurienzi is a great player. But it's a missed opportunity for me, because I think we looked at this team and say, hey, this ultimately top to bottom is the best the Sounders organization has looked probably since Champions League. And if you don't at least make it to the Western Conference Final and give yourself a shot at making MLS Cup, it's a missed opportunity because they could have done that. This is an organization, a club that has the chance to do that. And you say the talent is there, the situation was there, and it didn't happen.
I think I'd agree with that. The missed opportunity aspect, again, not a failure. You play in what CONCACAF Champions Cup, Leagues Cup, Club World Cup, MLS four, right? Um, you win Leagues Cup, you take
Defiance was
down
an
one.
Open Cup, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, you win Leagues Cup. You have a decent run in CONCACAF Champions Cup. I don't remember fully how far they got. It's been a long year. Um, you show what you did in Club World Cup. You play that role and welcoming the game to the city, and set the stage for next year. Um, and you know, if you take out, going into Saturday's match, you're getting healthier again, with Jordan Morris coming back. God, who is the injury report? Ryan Kent's still out, right? Um, Injury report. Sorry, I have to remember this. But I know the list was getting shorter, you know. Uh, Go and find this. You scroll down. Oh yeah, Reed's out. Oh, international duty. Stu. So really, it's just Stu and Ryan Kent out with injuries because Obed's on international, Reed's on international, and then there's Paul Arriola who's still out with the knee injury. And you went down Paul Arriola pretty early, right? Um, it's just, the ability to potentially be a hosting team, given what Owen mentioned with the home splits, your chances increase significantly if you're able to host up, in my opinion, of course. But it's just knowing, as you mentioned, the deepest team, because I know it won't look the same. I know in Craig Weibel's availability after the transfer window closed, he mentioned there will be some surprises to the locker room and there will be some surprises to the fan base in terms of decisions that he makes. Who knows, how much turnover we'll see? I don't know. I don't imagine it'd be a crazy amount, just considering what they've won this year. But yeah, like the opportunities on the table, that's ultimately where my feelings will lie, just knowing how close it was. And not, I don't want to, I'm sure I'll get something on this, but with the UW game this past weekend, you play the number one team in the country. You played them pretty well for 2.5 quarters, and then things start to unravel. Like, I'm not saying you like absolutely should have beaten the number one team in the country, right? I feel like that's a difficult thing to say unless you're number two, number three, right? Do you get what I'm saying though? Like the opportunity was there for a major upset, and again, different situations. Missed opportunity is the point I'm trying to drive home.
Yeah.
So,
I want to hammer
so
one more thing home too with this. Because like we talk about the fact, hey, this year is really good. It's a missed opportunity. Um, Next year, Yamar will be 34. Jordan Morris, Christian Roldan, Paul Arriola will be 31. Albert Rusnak will be 32. Nuhu will be 29.
Jesus already.
To go back to college football, honestly, the thing that really excites me about Oregon is how strong its freshman class is. It was a big part of why the Ducks won at Penn State. Two really good running backs. Decory Moore is the best receiver on the team. Um, uh, the Sounders, yes, they have a good youth academy, but you ask, hey, when Yamar isn't able to go anymore, when it's not Jordan Morris and Christian Roldan, who are Iron Men, but there's going to be a point here where you do have to start phasing them out. Um, do the Sounders have the guys um, to put together a team of this caliber um, next year? Because as good as Snyder Brunell is, he is not Christian Roldan, and he will have he has that potential, but it takes time. Um, and why the Sounders are so successful is they've had a culture and an organization that can blend like that can have these two at the same time. You can have really successful players in their prime, and then also young guys who can grow up alongside them. Obed Vargas was on that timeline. Um, but with the global recognition that comes from Club World Cup and winning Champions League, and being one of the top team clubs organizations in the league, uh, means that Obed Vargas will not be Cristian Roldan. Obed Vargas will not be a Sounder until he's 30. Um, and that puts them in a different spot. So that's a question you have to answer, and that's why this is a missed opportunity, because not only is this the best the Sounders organization has looked, it will be very different next year.
I think that's
Not
a good
not a
point.
pessimist, but it's a good team and
No,
they missed a
it's
chance.
reality.
Yeah.
I just think that's reality. It's a results-driven league, results-driven business is sports. Sorry, and it's just it's just different in results, obviously, because the Sounders actually win things. But the Kraken are in this situation where you're getting to the end. You had your expansion draft in 2021, right? You're getting to the end of those guys. There are about 7 of them left. You're starting to come into, all right, this was our group here. That's great. They helped us get for the first 3 years. Some of them had their moments. We have to shift now to the prospects we drafted in the early years and change into a new era. And some of the conversations I just had on this Kraken preview show we're doing is, when do you cut them loose? When do you, as Owen mentioned with some of these other guys, phase them out? It's just reality. It goes back to the goalkeeper conversation with Steph.
Yep,
So,
exactly.
yeah, man, I think that's the show. Unless anyone's got any, I object. Final questions. Mike's
Obviously, for
healthy, by the
predictions.
way. I don't. 3-1.
Oh, I'm
1-1.
gonna go 3-3.
Wow.
Oh shit.
I will be
Okay.
watching eagerly with the sound with the Ducks on by.
Oh, I will say, I don't know how many people have watched at this point anyway, but they're like, "Oh, will the Mariners playoff game on Saturday affect the Sounders?" Did I'm like, no. Sounders play at 7:30. Uh, from my knowledge, we won't know the times until after the wild card series are done. But if you're looking at how the Major League Baseball is, one, schedules the first 2 playoff rounds traditionally, and 2, how they schedule them in 22 when the Mariners were last in it, they're typically day games. So that shouldn't at all affect the Sounders start time. It'll probably just affect the Seahawks on Sunday. And people say, "Oh, they wouldn't move a Seahawks game, dude." I'm like, yes, they would have. In 22, if they had gone to a game 4, that Seahawks game would have been pushed back at least an hour. So, and Adam Schefter posted a whole tweet about it. So, the Sounders folks are like, "Is this worthy of a push notification?" I'm like, I don't know, dude. It's playoffs. I feel like it's decently important. So, no, it should not affect the Sounders, especially since they're playing at 7:30. Uh, you know, we'll see. Unless the partying from that night goes till then, who knows? I can't control that. Um, yeah, man. Portland. It's a big one. Mike and I and Mike's meniscus that's healing now. Hopefully, we'll be sitting in the press box eagerly thinking of Owen. We'll be like our little friend. We'll get like a little like Owen doll and put it in the corner. Be like, oh no, it'll just be a little duck. It won't
It's a
be
little duck hat.
Owen.
Just
Yeah. Oh God.
You can put a photo of me.
Yeah,
It'll be
man.
fine.
Is Aaron dead? No, he's just not here, guys. Like, yeah. Till we see you next week. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Uh, I was gonna say kick someone from Portland, but that wouldn't be very nice. Uh, till we see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Be well. Do what you can to make today a great day.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. So where are you going to watch all of the Sounder away games this year?
Away games for the Sounders. Well, since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that's a great idea. Go Sounders. Hope we see y'all here.